I'm going to bring back Joe Panettieri. He's going to come in and wow us with his intellect, his looks. I mean, he's like a GQ model today. I mean, it's a great outfit there, Joe.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're going to
Sorry
sing
for the
for us
letdown,
here.
folks.
All right. Good deal.
Good to see you, Terry. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you. So we're going to bring up a fantastic panel for you in just 1 second. But before we do that, can I ask everyone to stand up and stretch just for a minute? Take a stretch. And I wanted to give you one great financial tip that ties together this morning's sessions and then builds a bridge to an afternoon session today that Arlen Sorensen is running. Arlen's going to talk about business valuations and what your business is worth. And the thing I learned from Arlen like a decade ago is he always talked to me about the valuation gap. What you think it's worth, what it's actually worth, and then how to close that gap. The extra piece I've since learned from Arlen and others, I'm part of a peer group with Arlen, with people who have sold their businesses. And one of the gentlemen in the room gave me this fantastic financial tip. You all can sit down now so you can write down this financial tip. This is not an endorsement in terms of like, I'm not an investor in this company. I'm not even involved in the company. I just use their tool. Empower.com. If you want to know your net worth every morning, through one simple email that hits your inbox that scanned all your finances and tells you everything that's going on with your personal and business, Empower.com and their personal dashboard, it's free. And it's really changed my life. My wife and I are on the same page every day in terms of how we are financially short-term, long-term, business, life, et cetera. So Empower.com. And we want to empower you some more now in terms of this actual session. Let me make sure I got my slides right here. How to win more than your fair share. I'm Joe Panettieri. Mentori Ventures is our business incubator. We are funding and building and launching various businesses out of that incubator. This basically just says I've been around too long. So I'm having a lot of fun at it. What I want to do now is bring up each one of our panelists all at once, and then individually we'll go through your slides and get maybe a minute or two on you, and then we'll do a Q&A with you, talking about the best moves of 2023 and maybe some missteps of 2023 in terms of growing your business, and then looking ahead at 2024. So could I ask our panelists to come on up? Jeff, good to see you.
Thank you.
Awesome to see you. Is Sean also with us?
Peer Group C.
And Jeff, we'll come back to your slide in a minute, just so people can make the connection.
No problem.
Sean, good to see you.
Okay.
Thanks for taking some time.
I'm good.
And Ron in the house?
Turn it on when you want to use it. Put Ron in the middle of this? Yeah.
What? Bring the coffee. I usually come armed with coffee as well. But thanks, guys, for joining us. Let me go back a little bit, and we'll get just a little bit of time from each person on their business history and their focus. So, Jeff, could you just give us 30 seconds in terms of the business history? What's been your focus? Where are you based?
Omaha, Nebraska is
Awesome.
where we are currently based. I've been in the managed IT service space for 18 years, 11 different roles, 5 different companies, 7 times. No, that's not a fancy sales number. A little back and forth. I've been with Red Eye for a little over 3.5 years. We came to Marketopia with the intention to grow managed service revenue, MRR 50% year over year for 3 years in a row. We did not hit 50%, but we hit 42.
Don't give us all the stats yet. I want to get into it. I just want to hear a little bit about your background.
Yeah.
Then we're going to get into the Marketopia relationship, but also your business strategy for 2023 and 2024. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean, tell us a little bit about your business and your background.
Sean Marino at Data Tech Cafe. Background has always been IT. Been an IT geek for many, many years. Started the business in 2009. Quickly grew into an MSP from consulting. Quickly landed my first large customer, T-Mobile, nationwide. That became very, it was easy. I knew how to support them. We knew how to build their systems. We knew how to get things up and running for them. and I got complacent. I learned quickly that was not the right thing to do. Didn't do sales, just had T-Mobile, 90% of my business. They left. I met Terry, and Terry has changed my business 3 times over.
Pause there.
Yep.
Let's
I won't even go
keep
there.
them on the edge of their seats. What did Terry do to help you? Wait for it. We'll get to it. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Ron, tell us a little bit about your business and your background.
Ron Opperman, E3 IT Services, obviously.
Oh,
Excuse
just
me.
hold the mic a little higher.
Better?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have a partner, Randy Carbone. So he started his company in '86. Name of that company is RC Computers. My background really was in industrial engineering. It's a weird thing, but I spent a good 10 years traveling the country working on various engineering projects. Laid off in 2000. Started a small company called TechCAD. It was a computer drafting company. Transitioned quickly into computer sales and support. Randy and I merged in 2019 and needed direction on how to properly grow, and found Marketopia and have been growing.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, back-to-back years, 25%, so
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, it's working.
Great stuff. Thank you for the backgrounds. So this is a recap of who we are, why we're here. I was going to organize this into like roughly 10 minutes on 2023, what you've done to win your undue fair share of growth, and then maybe 10 minutes on 2024 in terms of what do you think you could do to fine-tune the model. But I don't want to leave out those edge-of-the-seat teasers you just shared in terms of like, hey, one of my secrets to success has been this alignment with Marketopia. So if you want to jump in, I don't know if we start at 2023 or not, because your stories may predate that in terms of that aha moment in terms of, I got to get growth right. Did you have an aha moment in terms of, I got to get growth right?
Yeah.
What was that moment?
So that moment was February of this year.
Okay.
I was talking with that guy over there with the fancy jacket, and he was holding me accountable.
Okay.
And that was the aha moment, because I am a co-owner, so Randy holds me accountable, but I wasn't really holding myself fully accountable to a number and then achieve that number.
Right.
So when that happened in February, things really kicked this year.
Okay. Congratulations. I want to hear more about the numbers in a few minutes, but have you guys also had aha moments?
So I'm going to piggyback at what Ron said. So December, I met with Terry, same thing. It was a life-changing moment for me because I really never held myself accountable, held everyone else, did the, hey, it's everyone else's problem, not like Jeff where he takes accountability. So I did, I learned a lot from that little talk, and we held ourselves accountable, me and my owners, my partners, and we turned the business around. We were struggling. We tried some things in 2022, and 2023 has been the most successful year I've probably had outside of T-Mobile.
Okay. Fantastic. And I want to hear about what these secrets were for 2023 success, but it's good to hear that there was a moment. Was there a moment for you as well?
Yeah, my moment predates 2023, but similar in this regard. So my accountability moment came in 2020, the height of the pandemic, joined Red Eye Tech, had never spent a dollar, right, or a labeled dollar at least for sales or marketing, and then had the task of growing with the numbers that we did. So it was a really easy call to Jeff Law, said, hey, put the deal together for me. We had a sales process, but I needed opportunities. I needed leads. Mm-hmm. And so put that together, had them commit to a 3-year deal up front, right? So it was from $0 spend to a hefty one in their eyes to get to the goals that we had. And then subsequently, 2 years into that 3-year deal, as my slide indicated, we broke operations to the extent that we stopped completely selling outside sales, period. And so that was my 2023, was de-escalating a team graciously and rebuilding and collaborating with operations to build it so that when we flip that switch again, it scales with us and ahead of my team ultimately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. One thing I wanted to follow up on, tying together yesterday, which was certainly all about growth, today, which is about growth, but then a lot of added injection of profitability this morning. And one of the things that I learned through Arlen and others in the industry was you got to have the profit model right before you turn on that growth engine, because if you're just growing but losing, you're just losing ground even faster.
Yeah.
So as you thought about 2023, did you optimize for profitability? Were there sort of growth strategies in your lead gen, in your marketing, in your sales, but you had to make sure that you were hitting a certain profit margin on it?
Yeah.
And how did you do it?
Yep. So that was ultimately how we rebuilt for 2023, right? We had some operational things that we had to get right in order to sustain the growth. It wasn't like we had customers leaving left and right by any means. We didn't really have that much attrition, thankfully. It was more or less just having the wherewithal and the personal accountability to say, look, I don't want to be responsible for torpedoing the ship, but that's exactly where it's going to go if we keep bringing on 4 to 6 clients a month and you don't have the fulfillment engine there to support it. And so really tough talks, that would have been May of 2022, so tough talks at the end of year planning for 2022 into 2023. But it really came down to installing an accountability system across the rest of the organization where it was, okay, what is the revenue number? What is the net income number? What is the margin percentage? What is it? And then breaking that down by department so that kind of everyone had a number and leveraging that system. We have some of the industry components of that too, SLI and OML, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it was, where are we all going? We're all in it together. What do we want? What's the North Star? What's that 5-year picture? And what's 2023 going to be to set us up for?
I want to be Jeff.
Yeah.
I want to be like Jeff.
But aren't you a little like Jeff? You've had you had a great.
For 3 years, yeah. I mean, yeah, so a little
So
bit.
how are you becoming more like Jeff? You know,
Well,
because
I
I've
let
heard
my
a lot
hair- I
about-
let my hair
I've heard
grow a
lot
little bit
about
for this.
Joe MSP in this session and Joe this and
Yeah.
Joe that. How are you like Jeff?
All right, so one thing I did do is I adopted some new beliefs. And one of those is that people don't buy things, they're sold. So that was something that changed it for me. So I have to sell our services and our value differently than I was before. Like, here's a proposal, buy my stuff.
Yeah.
So I am a diehard marketopian. I really drink the Kool-Aid and do the process, and the process works. But it was sort of like,
Tell me more about the Kool-Aid. You drink the Kool-Aid. What does that mean? Like, Chris,
Hold that.
so a prime
It's
example
coffee.
would be
It's
the
not- it's
earlier.
not Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
this bracelet's from 3 years ago. This one's from 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and they say things, right?
Yeah.
One of them says, I got today, says, say less, do more. So a lot of people know me, and some people here know me, some people don't, but I like to talk at times. But in sales meetings, I figured out, shut up. And I started doing that and winning more. So continue to do that. It's a process. So a lot of those basic principles, but really following the process, I think the client values that more as I get deeper and deeper into those relationships. And then I get ballsy. So then I start asking for prepays and things like this, and they say, sure, and then it starts working, right?
Build trust.
Well, that was another one of my beliefs. I have to believe in my product or service. I really need to believe in it. And that was a complicated thing for me because I'm sort of trying to strive for excellence all the time. And you maybe see little, you hear things going on, the knock, and you're like, shut the door, put the headphones on, right? I don't want to know that stuff because then it sort of stops me from from hunting. So we've cleaned up a lot of that and put in processes to fix things and have a better plan. And that has really helped me believe more, which has helped me sell more.
Got it. And Sean, from your vantage point, I think it sounded like a deeply personal story about this aha moment, and now 2023 has gone dramatically better. Can you walk us through sort of both a little bit of the emotional side, but also the
Sure.
actual blocking and tackling and the things you did to succeed?
Absolutely. So it was emotional. Truly, we had operation issues, we had sales issues, we had things that I needed to dig deep into and really own. And as an owner, you think everything's going good, you're just great, life is good, and you kind of run away, right? As we were talking about earlier with Mike, right? And how we really want to dig in. So I had to dig in, and Terry really coached me into, okay, here's the things. Profit, got to look at profit. You're not profitable, so what do we got to do? We look at it. So we looked at profit. We started looking at operations. We started looking at some hard decisions. So we really started looking at process. You guys talked about process earlier. You talked about the sales process. It's really understanding your process, making sure you believe in your process, and being able to turn that around. We quickly identified areas where we needed to fix that cost us revenue. So we looked at that. Is it going to be profitable? No, let's get rid of it. We don't need it. We then looked at sales. What do we need to do at sales? So Marketopia, what do we need to do? How do we get better? We talked to Terry. We talked to our success coach. We got us on track. We need SEO. You need to do this. We need to work with our caller. We need to make sure that we're maintaining these numbers month over month. And once we started looking at that and really identifying those things, we turned our business completely around. Now we're profitable. We're at a point where things are good. People are looking at us. People are looking at our numbers. They're wowed by them. Ron and I gone back, and Jeff, all the time we talk about how we get there, and it's process.
Yeah, I was going to say, and to Terry's presentation earlier today, that whole slow down. My business partner always used to say, it's a marathon, not a sprint, Joe. Slow down. And she always gave me great advice. But I want to take it a step further. Tell me about how you're winning deals, because it's like Marketopia. It's almost like they bring you to a lake where the fish are.
Yeah.
And they show, here are the fish. But ultimately, it's up to you to reel in the fish and retain that business and grow that business. So what do you do when you're at that last mile, that last step, as I mix a bunch of metaphors here, to win that business and retain it?
Well, Jeff talked about it earlier. It's believing in the process, having the process, and showing that process to that customer. Why you're different from everyone else, and getting them to believe in you.
Right.
Believe in that trusted partner. The hardest thing is to get them to believe in your process and get them to understand why you're different than the next person. Right now, I found, price is price. People know it. People know things are going up. People are going to pay for good service. So don't be afraid of the price. Just be very transparent. Here's our process. This is how we're going to walk you through. Everything I relate back to dating. We're in a dating phase. Here's where we're at. This is how I'm winning you over. This is how I'm going to, help you grow your business. I'm really looking for that partnership to grow that business for you. So how do we do that? That's working for us. And identifying the process up front to that customer, and not just saying, oh yeah, we can do this, here's the price, and move on and try to sell them on that. That doesn't work. It's got to be a process all the way through, showing what you did, the assessment, understanding, hey, we see your problems, here's how we're going to fix it. It's not going to be fast. Be honest with them. We can't go overnight, get you a new firewall, right? We can't get you that overnight, but we can get it in a week. We're going to get it there and identify and be honest with them.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to pause there. I want to do a time check. We got roughly about 10 minutes, give or take, to go. I want to look forward to 2024. Before we do, I want to remind you of some stats to help, again, frame the profit conversation. Some of these stats are from me. Some of them are from service leadership. I'll give you the service leadership ones first. So as we mentioned yesterday, 25% of MSPs in the market are either break even or losing money. And actually that 25%, a growing portion of that 25% is losing money lately. The middle piece of the market, the middle 50%, your average MSP that's doing pretty well, roughly EBITDA margins of 8 to 10%, right? It's a great healthy number. Best of breed MSPs, 20% EBITDA margins, 20%. There are now, throw in my own number, the MSSP space, margins 11 to 13% for the average ones and doing well. There's a thesis that AI-centric MSPs will take their EBITDA margins to 30% and above. I don't know if I quite buy into the thesis. I do see robotic process automation and tools like that helping to boost the margins. But if you have any questions, I'm not the expert on this. I'm really good at throwing out stats from other people. Always ask me, where'd you get that stat? And I'll tell you where I got it. and I'll lead you to the right source. I think Arlen's in the house already. He has a session later today where he can tell you more about what he sees with what those, the more important part is, what does that profit mean for either your family, keeping the business long-term, and your team members, or perhaps a sale? What does that EBITDA margin mean in terms of a multiple? And you'll hear about that from Arlen. But back to this, for 2024, what did you learn about 2023? The one thing you learned about 2023 that maybe you could have done better, and what are your priorities for 2024? What's the one thing you could have done better this year in terms of this getting your unfair share of growth?
Well, I stopped using the word follow-up, right? Because I'm really bad at that at times. It's one of the hardest things I find is follow-up, and that's one thing I'm trying to perfect for 2024. Better follow-up, even though I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But there's always room for improvement. Back to my engineering days, when we were designing packaging lines and material handling systems, it was always about continuous improvement, right? And so trying to implement more of that in our business, the process is always can be fine-tuned.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to do for 2024.
Okay. All right. And then when you say follow-up, does that mean you're going to go to some sort of standard process? After a sales meeting, the follow-up date is always X, and the message is always Y, or what's the process?
Yeah, well, I'm going to use that growth machine as well to help me in that, using that CRM. But as far as, trying to shrink that sales cycle. Sometimes I did a deal the other day in 3 weeks. I was like, wow. Right. And then some take a year, or they're on the board for or longer, Right. And the ones that are up there a little longer, maybe I get a little tangented to another deal because, deals start rolling in. So 2024 is going to be just, fine-tune that process. Just keep continuing improvement.
You got that board on the wall. You at least got that scoreboard every day
Absolutely.
that you can look up at.
Yeah, with green checks and then red X's, and I don't like red X's, so try to get green checks.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things that you mentioned, Ron, even, and this is maybe more a point that Joe would make, but in a tangential industry like ours, the average sales duration, sales cycle, increased by 27 days in 2023. And if you even just look at that stat and then compare it to the process that you're running, and then look at the implication of, well, what does that do from how many days in the year do I have to sell? How can I collapse my pipeline, my process, and everything else to drive more production in a smaller period of time? And I think there's arguments to be made as to why the average sales cycle increased by that amount of time. I think there's ways to cheat that and to get through it by doing it in a more effective way. But on the whole, that also should be encouraging because that means your competitors expanded quite a bit too. One of the very first things that we did back in 2020 to get us to breaking in 2022 was condense the sales cycle, and by that I mean the work and the effort that we do to get to the point where we're at a proposal from roughly 3 months to 3 weeks. And that was really just by reassessing and reevaluating how we're doing it, what we're doing, and getting to the point where then you can follow up and drive the rest of your pipeline and collapse it that way. And so from what's happening in 2024, to answer that question, I think I love the analogy that you use because I use it often too, which is
which butchered analogy did I use?
The fishing one,
the
right?
The fishing one, yeah.
Because I think the thing that we're carrying into 2024 is a fishing analogy, and that is, are we showing up to go fishing or are we showing up to drink beer, right? Like, what's the purpose? What is the specific goal that we're going after? And breaking that down with specificity, because it all comes down to expectations, right? Fishing to some people is going and drinking beer. Fishing to other people is fishing. When you look at that through the marketing lens, you can keep going with that analogy. Which lure are you going to use? Which one are they biting? Which one aren't they biting? Is it live bait or not, right? You can go so deep with just that one analogy alone. Are you even in a pond that has fish? Like, those are the important questions that you really have to challenge yourself to do, and you can't fall victim to the trap of doing the same thing you always did, or doing it because you always did it that way, right? Like, you've got to be able to shatter some of those molds if you want a different result. That's 2024 for us.
Gotcha. Sean, like the one thing you'd fine-tune from 2023, and then what do you want to nail in 2024 in terms of growth?
Yeah, so we're still fine-tuning the process, right? Okay. We still are fine-tuning. You're always improving process. You're always going and looking at what you can do better. To Jeff's point, bringing that process, that sales process in, right? The other thing is, so 2024 is profit first.
Profit first.
100%.
Okay.
100%. We've been talking about it for the last 6 months, prior year, profit wasn't first. So now it was great. The talk earlier, it was like, man, that's exactly what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to do, profit first. And, always fine tuning that sales process, our operation process. So those two things are what we'll be focusing on for 2024.
Got it. Yeah, and to build on that and also tie back to the earlier keynote this morning. The earlier keynote, Mike was talking about, if you want to run a marathon or get into shape, that doesn't mean you go run 5 miles every day when you're completely out of shape. Just do little goals. And I would compare that to profitability. If you are break even or 2 or 3% EBITDA, don't try to become 20% EBITDA tomorrow. Because if suddenly you get approached about a deal, the buyer is going to look at that number and say, well, you got 10 years of break even to 2% profit, and now you're suddenly 20% EBITDA overnight. There's something fishy about this. It just doesn't add up. So 2%, 4%, 6%, 8%. What are you going to do that 1 to 2% EBITDA incremental improvement every year? You guys feel like you're going to be able to do that next year?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Hell yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You're spot on, because we did kind of a mock type of that, and you're right. That's the first thing they said. Your last 4 years, you only did this. What are you talking about? Why are you all of a sudden you're at 20%, 25%?
Yeah.
Something's not right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm not being rude. I'm just checking time.
No,
okay.
yeah. We see it right here.
All right. Yeah, I know, but actually they did sync it, so good. Okay, because I know we started a little late, so we're in good shape. All right. So what I want to do is ask you one final question. Actually, I have 2 questions. I'll give you the easy one first. You guys available post-panel around lunch, afternoon, if our attendees have questions for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. Great.
Always available.
Fantastic. And then anyone who wants to reach me, I'm around this afternoon. And please, LinkedIn with me. I'd love to hear more about your businesses. I'd be happy to tell you what I'm up to, but I'm far more interested in what you're up to. You guys have been so great to me over the last decade plus, to say the least. Final question for you. If there's one thing you would change about your business in terms of that growth rate, is there absolute one dial you can turn to do better, or is it multiple dials on the dashboard? Like, what are the dials you think you want to turn?
I would turn, for all of you MSPs out there, some of you are super mature, some just starting, I would turn the dial back all the way like 10, 15 years ago, and have started this process so much longer. I did it too late, in a sense.
Right.
To just figure it out, luckily I did. I'm glad I did it now then. I'm 51, so I'm not new to this, but I wish I would have learned all this a long time ago.
Yes.
That's the dial that I would turn.
So if you're hesitating on starting the journey, start it. Like, because
Get on the journey,
Yeah.
build the confidence, and then have that behind you.
Okay. And any dials, whether it's personal or on the professional dashboard, that you'd turn for next year?
For me, it is, and this would go across the organization, but it is shortening the distance between the decision being made and the execution happening. We leave so much on the table because of the inaction that lies in that space.
Yep.
That once the decision's made, there's no reason to not be executing. The execution dial is like the easy button that we're going to be slamming on in 2024.
Yep. Repeatable, scalable onboarding and retention.
Yeah.
Got it. Sean, from your vantage point?
My one dial is, again, we're going to be focused on profit first, right? But the one dial that's going to help with that is turning my business from more sales organization and less being in the business and working the operations and things like that. So that's my one dial, is to work on the business, be in the sales part of it, turning that organization into a sales organization.
Fantastic. Okay. So just a time check. You are not dismissed. What I want to do is 2 things. Part 1, please thank the panel. Appreciate it, guys. Really do appreciate your time. Number 2, please give a couple minutes of your attention to Andra. We'll have her come back up. There might be some housekeeping things before we go out to lunch, or off to lunch, excuse me. Guys, thank you again for your time, and thank you all for your leadership over the years and everything else. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Chief Marketing Officer, Marketopia, Andra Head.